What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Onyx Report's Black Masculinist news for the day. Hope everybody is well. Y'all know what it is. This one's been in the news for a minute. I'm probably not caught up on all the dimensions of it. Not really my sphere of interest to any great degree as far as certain celebrities or celebrities in general. But it is what it is. I am concerned about IPV, though, intimate partner violence, intimate partner homicide. I am concerned about those issues, especially as they pertain to black men, because much of the time we're maligned by stereotype. And the stereotype in many instances conflicts with what we know, what data is available about it. And so I like to take these moments as an opportunity to get across some of the information that most people don't know, especially as it pertains to black men. So let's get to it. Let's see here. So as many of you have seen, the incident taking place with Quavo and Saweetie in the elevator. We just see it from right when they're in front of the elevator door as it's open, right? Cameras in the elevator. So we don't know what took place before that. Now, maybe there's been more information to come out. I haven't followed it. I heard there was some kind of Twitter exchange between them, and there have been a million content creators that have said stuff and found things. So again, y'all can fill me in on if there's anything I am missing, but I'm just going off of what I saw in the clip, the video clip from TMZ. And it's short, like a minute and a half. It's real short. But what we can see, by the time the elevator door is open, and we see them, as you can see on the left side of the image here, it looks like this is, these are his bags, and he's trying to put them on the elevator, and he wants to leave. She doesn't want to leave. Now, just before they enter the elevator, she kind of swings at him. And the interesting thing is he not only pulls back, but he almost kind of runs back to avoid getting hit, which kind of suggests to me that if she had swung on him any earlier than this, he did something probably pretty similar. Like he's actively at one point trying to avoid coming into any negative contact. But then coming into the elevator, he's getting his stuff. She won't let him. She's trying to pull the bags out. He does pull her in, right? He pulls her in. She falls to the floor, as you can see on the right side of the image, and she stays there as the elevator goes down and apparently comes back up. And we can tell it comes back up because you can see her shoe, which is left in the hallway when they get in the elevator, is out there again. So, at one point they seem to go down, they seem to come back up. Her shoe is there again. So they've kind of made it back to her floor, whatever that is. She eventually gets up, she hesitates, sits down there for a while. We can't hear anything. Obviously there's no sound, much like with the Jay-Z issue that took place with Beyonce's sister Solange. No sound, right? We clearly see her aggressing toward Jay-Z. In this instance, Saweetie starts the video swinging at Quavo, right? So he gets up, he gets out of the elevator, he has his bags with him, he's waiting for her. She eventually gets out. She has a slight limp, but she walks out. That's what we see. Now, what's relevant about this? Well, I want to start with a quote from Tommy Curry's Man Not. And then I'll kind of show you an image that kind of goes with it. So in this quote, page 120, right, Man Not, says, in black households, mutual violence was most frequently reported. The rate of self-reported bidirectional IPV, 61%, was 2 times that of unidirectional female-to-male partner violence at 31%, and about 6 times higher than unidirectional male-to-female partner violence at 8%. Now, what does all of that mean? Right? Some of you who follow this kind of information, you knew it. You probably got it from just that passing that I just did. But so I'm gonna show you an image. Some of you may have seen online. The numbers are slightly different, so they're probably using slightly different data sources, and there may be a time difference in terms of when these were made. This particular chart looks like it was made after 2012. Dr. Curry's work is 2017. So I would say the passage I just read is probably more accurate based on the date. But I use this as a visual because I'm a visual person. I don't know about you. Sometimes the visuals help me kind of understand. So the data is a little different, but the ratios are about the same. So I hope the visual will help. But as you can see in the bottom, you have all relationships. right? And the blue part of that is 84% of those relationships are nonviolent, right? Out of the red portion that are violent, 16% of relationships are said to be violent, right? But when you look at that 16%, right, 42% of it is unidirectional, meaning one way, one person attacking another. 58% of it is bidirectional, and this is key, especially in the Black community, right? The majority of intimate partner violence in the Black community is bidirectional, meaning that the violence is coming from each direction. But this is the case across the board, right? So 58% of violent relationships are bidirectional, right? And when you pull from there, right, and you look at even the unidirectional, so as I said, 42% is one-way violence, right? Out of that 42%, 28% of that is perpetuated by women. Women tend to strike first, right? As this is what the data is telling us, right? When the data lets us know that women strike first. It's about twice the percentage of male-initiated violence, right? Women tend to use weapons more often. Now, most of the time you'll hear feminists frame this as self-defense, but when women are initiating the conflict and they're willing to use weapons, men generally use their hands, right? It's just that men are stronger. So what you tend to find is that if there is an altercation, right, we can see it more visibly on women. But women will generally use weapons more often. They'll initiate the conflict, and they are the majority of abusers. But again, the popular notion is that this is strictly lays at the feet of men, and that Black men are the face in many ways of intimate partner violence. But again, if we were to update the information with what I just read from Dr. Curry, some of the numbers have changed, right? So according to the Man Not, right, self-reported bidirectional intimate partner violence, so that it's about 61%. So in other words, when you look at this middle triangle here of 16%, right, of violent relationships, what Dr. Curry's updated information is telling us is it's no longer 58%, it's 61% that's bidirectional, right? And that bidirectional amount of 61% is twice the amount of female to male, right, perpetuated violence. So you see the smallest rectangle where it says 28%, that has gone up to 31%, right? And this is the interesting part. The male to female partner violence, which is at 14% on this chart, is actually down to 8%. So what are we saying? Well, we're saying not only do we know the majority of relationships are not violent, but of the percentage of those relationships that are violent, the majority of those, 61%, are bidirectional, where the violence is going each way. And of the percentage that is, one-way violence, what we find is that women's violence is at 31%, men's is at 8%. Women initiate violence, according to these data, by about 4 times the amount of men. Now, fellas, what's important about this to you is that, when things get hot, women tend to be more apt, more willing to be violent. And I would argue part of that is the way we're socialized. Women are not socialized to have to deal with repercussion the same kind of way. Men understand this. Men understand, I don't care if it's a dude that's half my size or twice my size. If I say something in a particular way, I have to deal with the reality that things may get physical. I have to, at every moment, I have to grapple with the reality of my words, my actions, and what it may mean. So I measure each situation. Right? All right, this dude's smaller than me. Can he fight? Has he had training? This dude may be my size. Does he have a weapon? Right? This guy, I don't care what size he is he going to continue this? Because I see him around. Am I going to have to fight this fight more than once? All of these things run through men's minds because we understand repercussion. We understand where it goes. Women don't necessarily have to deal with physical repercussion in the same kind of way, especially from men. This is why you can see, a woman that's 5'1", cussing out a man 6'7", yelling at him, hitting him, slapping him, because she understands, even on an implicit level, since childhood, that boys are not allowed to hit girls and that men are not allowed to hit women. And then that's backed by policy, right, since the 60s, that has really framed abuse as a one-way dynamic. And that's been reinforced by things like the Duluth model, which is primarily framed as all violence tends to come from this kind of patriarchal framework. So in other words, men are the source of violence, despite that the data or the many, it shows us otherwise. So men understand this. Women generally have a different socialization around violence, which is why they tend to take liberties with it. And this is why you have to be careful. Because I've been in this situation myself. I've had a woman literally wrap her entire body around my leg to prevent me from leaving her house when I didn't want things to escalate, when she was acting crazy. So my point here is that in those kind of situations, fellas, leave. Quavo was right to do that, right? But at the end of the day, especially if you don't have these things being recorded, you need to find a way to leave the situation and make sure you're calm, no matter what she's doing. Defend yourself, protect yourself, but avoid violence at any cost. Because at the end of the day, the majority of the people who are going to pay, the majority of the people in the court of public opinion who are going to be considered inherently wrong and guilty are going to be men. Even if she initiated it, even if she started it, even if she used a weapon. For many people, the clock doesn't start until you respond. So fellas, please be careful, be aware of how these things go. If need be, pull out a phone and record in the middle of an argument. If you feel it even slightly going that way, you make sure things get recorded. And if you find yourself getting hot, do what you have to do to calm down. I don't care if you meditate in the middle of a discussion or if you get up and walk out. You do whatever you have to do, because in that instance, she's not concerned with protecting your innocence. And in her anger, she might initiate something that she may even regret later, but it doesn't matter. If you have to pay the cost, whether she regrets it or not, it ain't worth it. Leave. Breathe. Get out of the situation. And if whatever woman you're dealing with cannot respect the line that puts you into a vulnerable position because of whatever she's angry at, if she cannot demonstrate she has the capacity to respect your freedom, your record, your reputation, leave. If she doesn't know how to demonstrate a respect for that, she is not worth your time. I hope you get this, because this is what happens with a lot of men. You end up in jail or with a record. You end up with a reputation. Nobody considers the fact that she started it and came at you with a weapon. Over what? And when you try to tell them what the argument is over, a lot of the time it's stupid. So, hey, please be careful. It's not worth it. I don't want to see you guys suffer. Anyway,